Advanced Principles Podcast, or APP, was created to be an outlet for like-minded individuals to share in the broader conversations on leadership, retail market updates, and incredible personal success stories. On APP, you will hear a collection of stories from the titans of the retail industry, as well as thought and practice leaders covering the spectrum of the economy. Please click the subscribe button and look for the newest episodes to be released.
Said, you really should not be waitressing, you should be in car sales.
As you know, I'm a huge fan of you and your story and your background.
Or told the dealers where the customers were going if they didn't service.
Because it really speaks to who you are and what's important to you. And now today we want to introduce Miss Kelly Price. Kelly was the Chief Executive Officer and founder of National Automotive Experts, which market and administer finance and insurance products in the automotive, powersport, and recreational vehicle industries. Kelly's companies were collectively honored with the City of Strongsville's Innovation Award, the Pillar Award for Community Service, the Weatherhead 100 Award, and Inc. 5000 Fastest Growing Private Companies. NAE was recognized by North Coast 99 as one of the best places to work in Northeast Ohio in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Kelly was also honored as a regional finalist for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award. In 2020, NAE was acquired by Portfolio Holdings, an Abry Partners company. Kelly was appointed to the board for Portfolio Holdings in 2021. Kelly currently serves as the Executive Vice President, Strategic Ventures, focusing on acquisitions, mergers, and strategic initiatives. Kelly also formed Driven Capital Partners in 2020, which is a joint venture focusing on investments in the automotive and fintech space. Kelly is dedicated and is very involved in the Cleveland Christian Home and the Inspiring Children Foundation. In addition, she established Changing Lives Foundation in 2018, which is dedicated to helping those in need. For more information on Kelly, you can go to www.kellyjoprice.com. So Kelly, thank you so much for being on APP today. We're super excited to have our conversation with you and get to learn a whole lot more about you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Wow, that intro is kind of took my breath away there. You certainly have accomplished a lot, and I'm excited to unpack and spend a little bit of time on your success journey over the years and where you've come from, and share your individual story as we go through, and certainly have accomplished a lot. So again, thanks for carving out the time of your busy schedule to make yourself available for this.
No problem. Thank you.
So before we get into it, the automotive industry is something that no one really grows up wanting to get into, but we all kind of just eventually happen to land in it. So first place I'd like to start is, how did you get into the automotive industry? How'd you fall into this?
Well, I did actually fall into it because I didn't fall. I sold myself into it, but I had moved here. My dad was in the RV industry all my life. And so when I moved to Cleveland, I was newly married and my husband was in school. And so I went and got a job at TGI Fridays, and I was working as a waitress, and they had a contest that day that whoever sold the most bottles of wine, now this is a lunch hour, I guess I was encouraging lunch hour drinking, but whoever sold the most bottles of wine that day got a free dinner. And so, poor us in college and not really, having a lot of money at dinner was really important to me at that time. And so I was selling bottles of wine of which I knew nothing about. I was 20 years old, not even old enough to drink. And so I knew nothing about wine, but I sold the bottle of wine to two guys that were there on lunch from a car dealership. So that kind of gives you the instinct, why not drink in the middle of the day if you're in a car dealership? And so they had said, you really should not be waitressing, you should be in car sales. And I said, well, my husband's in college. I need really a good income. I have to make sure I have steady income. And they said, we promise you'd make more selling cars than you do here. And I said, well, where do you work? They said, well, you don't want to come where I work, but you probably should go to maybe somewhere like Sunnyside or something and get trained. And then you can go work anywhere you want. But I won't say where they said I shouldn't work. But anyhow, so ironically, one of the waitresses from Fridays had just left Fridays and went to work at Sunnyside. So I did have a little bit of a reference. And then I went and applied at Sunnyside. At the time, they had a really great training program, new into the auto industry, 3-week training program. And so I went and got hired there and started in the industry at that time.
Wow, that's really cool. So I'm glad that you opened up with that. And I will tell you, one of the greatest honors of my career has been and will continue to be is telling that story. I certainly don't do as good of a job because I didn't live it like you did. But as you know, I'm a huge fan of you and your story and your background. And I think that is just exceptional. And the industry is better because of those two gentlemen luring you in and
Yeah.
getting you into the foothold. So
I wish
whoever
I
they
knew who they
are,
were. I could say thank you to them or something, but
Absolutely, and get them some more wine or something like that.
yeah,
Thanking them
yeah.
for bringing you into this industry and starting off that path. So that's fantastic. So once you got in, obviously the great training program at Sunnyside, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. But what captivated you? What really intrigued you to stay in the industry? A lot of people come in and then they don't quite make it. So what really kept you in it?
Yeah, well, I first of all had a great trainer, Mike Kuva, that's still the general manager of at Sunnyside and a partner there. Kind of took me under his wings and had told me I was very I was told that I couldn't be salesperson of the month my first month by some other individuals that were salespeople there. And I said, well, how do you become salesperson of the month? And I went to Mike and I said, Mike, can you show me how do I become salesperson of the month? Because it was this big motivator board with all these different ways that it wasn't just like who sold the most cars. It was gross and F&I and new and used cars and all the different things. And he said, all that I want you to do, Kelly, is follow the 10 steps of the sale, stick to it, do it. Everything else will come if you pay attention to the details. And I talk about that a lot. I was actually just doing a mentorship with some high school and college kids, and I was telling them how important it is to pay attention to the details. Like if you pay attention to all the details, everything else will come. And so I did that, and then I was salesperson of the month my first month. And it was kind of like I just really always did exactly what I was told, followed the steps of the sale, and became a student of the business. And very shortly in to it, I was very interested in understanding like the TO to the business office and different things like that. And so I kind of started studying it. And about 6 months in, was offered an opportunity to go into finance. And I got 1 day of training by Pat Ryan and Associates. They came in, gave me, the frequency of repair presentation. I got to learn how to do that, and they threw me into the F&I office at the Honda store, and I came out crying and said, I cannot do this. They'll never buy anything from me. And they threw me back in again. And about a week and a half into my training, the Hyundai F&I manager left. And at the time they said, we need to go have you go over to the Hyundai store. And the Hyundai store maybe sold 30 cars a month. And so I went over there, and basically I was, I don't want to say abandoned, but thrown over there. And about, a couple weeks into the month, one of the F&I managers from the other store called me and said, so how are you doing? And I'm like, well, I've delivered like 55 cars. 55 cars, they don't deliver 30 cars. For whatever reason, it was like one of the best months they had ever had. And I just really had to learn everything. So I took the time to study the front and back of every contract. I got to know everything. I just really wanted to understand that as I was selling something to somebody, what they were doing. I knew all the finance contracts inside and out, built relationships with the bankers and so forth. And shortly into it, I asked if I could go to get trained at Pat Ryan and Associates, to actually the Chicago office. But in addition, I asked to sit in the claim center because I wanted to understand like what happens once I sold the contract. How is it affected? And so I really just became a student of the business, and I came back and I realized that we really didn't have a very good training program for how to fill out a buyer's order, how to fill out a credit app, all the different things that you needed as a salesperson to move in. So I wrote up a training program and I sent it to all the general managers and asked them if I could do this for all of the stores and train the F&I managers on how to train their salespeople. And at the time, we didn't have computers. Well, we had one computer in the whole dealership, one PC, I should say, that wasn't. And I took the buyer's order and I literally numbered like number one name. And then I wrote a description on what type of name we needed, full legal name, that type of thing. And so I went through and I made all these copies and started doing some training with the salespeople that I mentored. And then, that were underneath me, and I ended up at the Honda store as the F&I manager. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I started training the other F&I managers at our dealership. And then they made me the corporate trainer about 3 years in, and I went to Disney World and went through all their management training and came up with a full culture training program. And as a group of general managers came together with them and figured out, what we wanted the culture of the dealership to be. Tom Bolander, the founder of the dealership, had always said, we're going to treat customers very well, much differently, much more Saturn-esque, before Saturn was Saturn. um, and so that was how he had built up his dealership group, really with a completely different culture. So we started calling all of our the people that were coming in to buy the cars, the customers, guests, and we really transformed the culture of the dealership. And they actually still run the training program today that was written. So I did that, and I became the corporate trainer. I trained all the salespeople, all the F&I managers, and then did all of the corporate training for the culture training program. And in addition to that, they had biannual leadership meetings, were at a lot of those leadership meetings and so forth. But in 1996, I became very frustrated with our administrator, and I was asked to kind of look over the dealership's reinsurance programs, and very quickly figured out that maybe what we paid and what we were getting back wasn't A minus B equals C. And I said to our dealership owner at that time, I said, I really think I can do this better for you. And he said, okay. And so I went out and I hired somebody to develop a program, a computer program, a software program to track all the service contracts. I started a new car service contracts, and also with a program that I had developed prior to this called a 7-year, 100,000 mile program. And so the 7-100 was a powertrain program that protected the vehicle for 7 years or 100,000 miles, which at the time was very revolutionary because the
Totally
most you
unheard
could
of.
get was like 336. There wasn't really anything else. And so we were offering the 7-year, 100,000 mile program. And I had done that prior to actually getting the software program developed. And it was very, very successful because it would tie the customer back into service retention. So I was taught through selling cars that if I could sell them the first car, keep them servicing the car. So I was really big into the service walk and making sure the customer and setting the first appointment and doing all of that, that if I could keep them involved, that they would come back and buy from me again. So this was going to be my career. Like I was going to sell cars, that was how I did it. So the 7-year, 100,000 mile program was really important to me. So I was doing that, as well as I started writing service contracts. I hired a contractor to write a program for me. He's still our lead software developer today. So 20, how many years ago? I don't know, a lot, 25 years ago. And so I started writing service contracts for them, new car service contracts, which was really easy because the manufacturer covered the first 3 years of 36,000 miles. So I didn't have to do a whole lot. But, shortly into it, I really asked if I could go out and kind of separate from the company and start off into my own administration company. And luckily I had an owner that was extremely supportive. So I could kind of part-time work for the dealership and then go out and build my own business. And it was really just an opportunity. And I saw somebody believed in me, and I was able to go out and make it happen.
Wow, that's extraordinary. So there's a lot within that story. We'll kind of unpack little bits and pieces of it. Just an amazing journey from first walking into the store, becoming salesperson of the month, your first month, much to the chagrin of many of the veterans, I would imagine, all the way through launching your own full service administration company to where it is today. And certainly we'll talk about some of those things that have transpired. So you talk a lot about things that I know are near and dear to your heart, and I think anyone that knows you or know that just absolutely who you are at the core of you is customer first, client relations, guest relations, the culture that came up a lot of times, and really being a student in the business. So I just a couple minutes on the student in the business is, some of that I think is lost in today's day and age, that people aren't as mindful or as tactful as becoming students of the business, and really in trenching themselves in the road to the sale and the steps to the sale, much like you did. And what do you think? What do you think is the benefit of really being the student of the business, not only in the automotive sales and F&I, but also business leader and everything else that's going on? And why do you think that maybe is diminishing a little bit these days?
Well, I think it's probably one of the greatest failures we have is probably America just really taking the time to pay attention to the details. And it was interesting because not only was I taught that from my very first, steps to the sale, but when I went to Disney and did their management training program, it is all about the details and diving in and paying attention to the details, the experience of the customer, that wow experience of the customer. And I just remember something very impactful when I went through the management training is that every single night when Disney closes, they have a team of people that go through the park to make it look like it's brand new, just like it was the first day. So that if it's your first time walking into Disney, that you're going to have the same experience as the person yesterday and the person 10 years ago. And whether it's a chip of paint that they're going to touch up, whether, it's whatever it is, cleaning the streets and making sure. And so they even say like the first thing you need to do is go clean the streets and while you're out with the guests that are in the park. And because if you can get in and clean the streets and get to know them and understand the passion that they have. And so I think that's something that I have always encouraged is really paying attention to the details and taking time to really do the extra that maybe a lot of people still don't take the time to do today. Because if you pay attention to the details, the rest will come. And it's kind of like, I think it's that movie Field of Dreams, like if you build it, they will come. Like,
Yep.
you just have to really pay attention to the details and make sure that that's all there. And I think in our business, those details are the things that actually make us as an administrator different, but also, you know, it's very easy just to do the basics and not really understand what you know. And I've always been, when I've done every job in, this company, because I did it all before we had enough people to, or enough business to hire it, so whether it was answering the phones and handling a claim or, writing a contract or handling a lawsuit or, whatever it is, like I had to do everything, and so, now obviously we have people that do all those things, but, still paying attention to the details and understanding the business and studying the business, that's still what I do today, like just to make sure that I understand what's going on. And as we're making business decisions, that we know why we're making those decisions. And so I would say to anybody, and I say this to the kids that I mentor, if you pay attention to the details, everything else will take care of itself. And I think that's even in life, if you start your day out right and you pay attention to those details first thing in the morning, the rest of your day is much less chaotic. So, we just have to continue to do that. And I think it's made a difference for me and the company for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, and within that, you talked a lot about the details and how you represent yourself and how you represent yourself to your customers, your clients. And I know that there's four letters that are very prominent within the halls of NAE that you created. And so, why don't you kind of go through those and introduce everyone else who's not familiar with them?
Okay, so it actually started from the culture training that I did back at the dealership days, and it came out of Disney, although these were not their words, but courtesy, quality, show, and efficiency. We altered them, but they have a very similar thing. But it basically is your roadmap to success. If you're going to interact with a customer or make a business decision, courtesy, quality, show, and efficiency, and it goes in that order, meaning that the first and most important thing, whether you're the person answering the phone, answering the door, greeting somebody, courtesy is the most important thing. Quality being next is that we have to have a lot of quality. Again, the student of the business and everything that we do show the look and feel, kind of like I said, Disney, kind of spruces up that look and feel every single day. And then efficiency, we have to do everything very efficiently, but in no circumstance should efficiency jump above quality, jump above courtesy, a jump above show, because again, those details are the things that make us. In being efficient, if all we are is efficient, we're probably not taking care of the customer, doing it with quality, so forth. So we have a little saying, I think David, our president prior to our merger, but he would always say, we have to punt. If we're not doing 8 out of 10 on courtesy, quality, and show, and we're just doing efficiency, we need to punt and say, we can't do this for you, or, start over again or have a delay, because really we need to try and do it the best possible way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, it shows in everything that you represent, everything the company represents, and certainly everything that the dealers that do business with you um, get to take advantage of as well. And I think it's just absolutely exceptional and extraordinary. Now, you talked a little bit about the numbers not adding up, which I know is maybe unique to you and that one dealer group in the industry, but everybody else's numbers added up over the years. And, so many people probably had a very similar experience that you had, frustrations, lack of product availability, the finances not adding up, delays in information. A lot of those people just passed and they just accepted it and they just moved on and they continue to write business and build companies and whatever. What struck the chord with you? Why was it so important for you to go and find a better way? And I don't want to steal one of your taglines, but I do believe that's another big one in there. But
The
what
way it
really?
should be.
Yeah, exactly.
The
So
way
what
it should
really?
be. Yeah.
What?
Well, so for me, you know, I think that first of all, the mentality that the customer is the administrators is a little bit backwards. I think the customers, the dealers, were hired to do a service. We're paid to do a service. So when a dealership hires us to do something and we charge them an admin fee, if they send us $1,000 and our admin fee is 300, $700 is their money, and they should see the flow of that money directly into their account to pay claims and so forth. So I was very adamant about balancing to the penny, and literally to the penny. And it became very frustrating because, first of all, the reporting at that time was 18 months behind. So not only could I not balance anything, I couldn't, if I was getting into a loss problem, I didn't hear about a problem until way past the point I could do something about it. And so that transparency, and transparency is a little bit overused now today in our industry, but at the time, we couldn't figure out like who the service advisor was, what was the customer complaint, what was happening, why our loss ratios are going up or down, or what was coming out of our account, and is there an extra fee coming out of our account. There was no way to really balance it. And so I know I probably wasn't a big hero in our industry early on because I exposed a lot of things or made people kind of be a little bit more transparent. But I just said, if I send you 1,000 and my fee is 300 or my fee is 30 or my fee is whatever it is, whatever the fee is, I want to know where the rest of the money is. I want to know when you pay a claim that only the amount of the claim came out, not another fee on top of it and different things like that. So there's a lot of hidden fees that are very easy and multiple transactions to kind of hide behind. And so I just said, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to charge a fee. We're going to live on that fee. We're not going to live on, we've made an agreement to service you over a period of time. We're going to take that money, put it away, make sure that we're here for you in the long run. And so that was really like super important to me to make sure that that's the case. So that's what we've always prided ourselves on, is being very transparent. But really, it's a full circle. So we want to make sure that not only are we selling the first contract, but we're taking really good care of them during their claims process, so that when they come back again to that dealership that gave them this great advantage, that they want to buy another contract. Because if they have a bad experience on the first contract they buy, the chances of them buying another contract in the future is pretty slim.
Yeah, yeah. So you certainly, I think, absolutely nailed it. That transparency is overused. It has become so diluted. I think there's so many false transparencies out there. Another word that I think is thrown around way too often is disruptor. And certainly over the last 2.5 years, people have talked about disruptions to the automotive industry, electric, digital retailing, all of these different things. But I do think that you are a disruptor. You have been a disruptor, and certainly you said you were not the friends of many other administrators early on in your career, because you did kind of unveil what the industry had been largely keeping as a secret. And how have you worn that badge as a disruptor? And do you embrace that? Do you continue to use that as a catalyst to drive new innovations and new decisions? And how does that sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the one thing that kind of took us out of like being more regional and just working with some local dealers was a program called Warranty Forever that was really probably our biggest disruptor in the industry. And I remember, so we had the 7-year, 100,000 mile program out, at the dealership and some other dealerships, like just basically 7-year 100. Well, Hyundai and Mitsubishi all of a sudden came out with a 10-year 100 in 2005 or 6, I can't remember. And it was probably 2005. And I realized then that a 7-year 100, although at some of our stores was okay, but our Hyundai store, it wasn't going to do anything, for us and, for other dealerships that we were with. And so I took the mileage and the term off of it and called it Warranty Forever. And I, at the time, advertised that you had to go back to the selling dealer or it was voided. And I very quickly realized once I started advertising nationwide that was against the Magnus Moss Warranty Act, and so we could not do that. So we pivoted very quickly, actually, with advice of one of our agents said, "What if you did this?" And I said, that'd be really cool. So what if they had to call in and say they're not going to the dealership and before they could go somewhere else. So you're not tying them back. You can let them go anywhere you want, but we know where they're going. And so that was probably one of the best ideas that I had heard. And I thought, you know what? We have the ability to write the programming and the software to do it. It's a very, very, very expensive way to administrate a contract. We have people employed that costs us about $1 million a year just to answer those phones. So we're definitely more expensive than most lifetime products. But I heard actually from another agent saying, your lifetime program is really different because yours was like developed in a lab and everything, and everybody else's was developed on the back of a bar napkin. They're just a piece of paper. And so what we did with Warranty Forever when we started advertising, well, first, the funniest story was this was when e-blasts weren't really, really popular. Like if you got an email, you like read it, now we're all like delete. But
Spam,
so
spam,
this
spam.
was, yeah, spam. And so this was, going back in 2006 was, when you got an email, you basically paid attention to it. So I had done an e-blast, not really paying attention to timing or anything like that, on Warranty Forever, first lifetime program out there. Did a blast. It actually hit on Monday, July 3rd. So between a Sunday and a holiday, I got 103 phone calls from dealerships on that day. And a lot of them, the calls being agents. And when I said that we don't deal with agents, we only deal directly with the dealership, because that's all that I had ever done is deal directly with dealerships. They started pretending to be dealerships, the agents did, and calling in and asking me for the information. And then I figured out very quickly that they, basically all of our calls were recorded just like they are today, because we want to make sure we're meeting the needs of the customer. But when I went back and I'm like, gosh, how did you get the pricing if you're an agent? Because he said, well, I have your pricing. And then I realized, so I went back and listened to the calls and realized that it was the same person that pretended to be the agent that called in as the dealer, or pretended to be the dealer. Anyhow, so very quickly I realized that the relationship of the agent with the dealer is so important. And there was no way that I was going to probably hire enough people to displace that relationship. And so I learned a lot about that. I knew him from a training. He was in training for F&I training, and I had hired him to help come in and help with some dealerships because I had moved out of the training realm and into mostly just doing administration. And he came in and he knew a lot of the agents. So it helped me kind of make that merger between knowing the dealerships directly versus having an agency involved. And so Warranty Forever was kind of created, and we, started growing pretty rapidly nationwide and spent like 140 nights a year on the road,
Wow.
launching it and doing all of that. But it was really fun because it really was the first program in the market that actually brought customers back into service. And so we're really proud of that, because if a customer wants to leave, manufacturers pay dealers huge amounts of money for first service appointments. How many people can you get in on that first service appointment? Because they know that if they can get them servicing there, they're going to sell them another car. And so we knew that. We knew the NADA stats, we knew all of that. But this program actually told the customers or told the dealers where the customers were going if they didn't service. So the dealerships only knew where they were going if they did, but if they didn't service with them, where did they go and why are they leaving? So
Yep.
on all of our calls, we actually get the information from the customer. Why are you leaving? Is it, a coupon that you have somewhere else? Is the service hours? Did somebody in dealer, did Joe, the service advisor, make you mad? What is it? Why are you leaving? Did you move out of the area? And so we can track all of that data and give the dealership back data that they've never been able to get to. They can't even buy that data today without spending so much time trying to get these customers on the phone and saying, why did you leave? And then chances are they're not going to tell them the truth anyway. Well, for us, they don't have any reason not to tell us. And so we have reporting that, as an agent, you can go back to the dealer and say, Mr. Dealer, 16% of your customers left last month because you're not open later hours, or because it's a 2-week wait for service, or because you won't accept competitor coupons, whatever it is. So that, that power that the dealerships have is worth every penny that we spend an additional admin cost to us to help the dealer keep control of that customer.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And now Warranty Forever has been around for 15 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
2006,
actually.
21,
Yeah.
and coming up.
Well, we started it in early before I did that first ad, but yeah, it's 15, almost 16 years.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And a couple of quick stats is roughly total number of contracts issued out there on the street.
Boy, you're really mean. That's probably 1.8 million, I would guess.
Wow. So really fast approaching 2 million contracts. And it's very rare in our industry that an administrator will develop a program with that type of longevity.
Well, and our dealers stay on it, or unless they sell, they have so much power and control of knowing what's going on with their customers. We just don't lose long-term dealers, or unless the dealership's being sold or another partner comes in that just doesn't understand or believe in the program. It just doesn't really happen. But we also moved it into motorcycle and RV. And so it's been, a game changer for that. There's a lot now. I mean, at the time we started, we didn't have any competition. There's a lot of people that have lifetime contracts today. But I mean, like I said, again, a piece of paper versus a full program, something that we can really engross the entire dealership in this process from, year after year, and keeping the customer involved. A regular lifetime contracts are just basically an advertising tool.
Yeah.
Because there's really we do email reminders and all kinds of things to keep the customer engaged. So, but anyhow.
I reference it as the difference between a product and a program.
Right.
And all those other Me Too products are out there, and they're basically just pieces of paper on a windshield that sometimes a sales associate will refer to. Whereas Warranty Forever is a full embodied program that runs through the entire dealership and benefits everybody that touches it. And I think that's a big difference.
Most administrators don't want to put the programming time and energy and money into having somebody answer these calls and, do it. I mean, anybody that's tried to replicate it, basically never does, because it's expensive, and it's a lot of data and a lot of tracking and a lot of custom programming that has to be done to be able to give you what you're buying, which is, a full service retention program. So, we advertise in service retention areas for Warranty Forever. Others advertise as like a marketing tool. And it is a great marketing tool, but it is so much more a service retention. And I mean, we get customers that now, since we've been around for so long, that'll say, where can I buy a car? I want Warranty Forever. And when they realize, you know what I mean? And we have very good coverage as well. So it makes it a good program.
And do you think for a dealer, it's as important today as it was back in 2005, 2006 to have that differentiator, to have that why buy here, to have that customer experience?
I think it's more important because you have more people competing for service than you ever have before. And, with pricing being so, I don't know, it's just a commodity. Like you can basically find a car at, figure out what the cost is and all of that pretty easily. And so what's going to differentiate you as a dealer is, the offering of something like Warranty Forever, but also your service and your culture in your dealership. And, I recently was out west. My son is out west at an internship, and I was helping him buy a car. Won't mention the very large public company name that we bought a car from, because they happen to have a used car with only 4 or 5 thousand miles on it at the time. And by the time we were done, the entire culture, and he said, I will never enter another dealership again. That was the worst experience. We were there for, I can't remember, like, I don't know, 3.5 hours, and we were writing a check for the car. I walked in knowing what we wanted. I mean, it was just like it was, and they knew what I did in the industry, and it still took all that time. And then when he
Wow.
had to go back there because they forgot to give him a second key, and then they couldn't find the second key, he was there another 3 hours.
Oh,
And he said, I'll never go to a dealership again. And so, how do we create that culture? I mean, so I really think between having a why buy here and why stay here, because not just
mhm.
buy, why stay, stay here, do the service we need, but the culture of the dealership, how can you create really, and it's going to take time and energy and a lot of leadership, and it has to start from the top down.
Yep, yep. That's all great points. So you've been in the industry a couple years. We've talked a little bit about your journey. It's amazing that you accomplished all that in just 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest changes that you've observed since first walking through that show floor and selling your first car to today?
Yeah, I think again, it's harder because you can't make as much money as a salesperson from a gross perspective. It has to be a little bit more volume based, or, a different type of pay plan. Dealers are having to get very creative with some of the pay plans. I just think that, now people are going to buy who makes it easy, efficient, and they feel like they've been taken care of. And so, before in the past, I remember like one of my first weekends at the Honda store, we were at the time selling Hondas, selling them for $800-900 over sticker. And, we would mark it up on the sticker as a surcharge and say it's a cost of doing business, not reflected in the selling price of the car. Anybody knows that story. So, so we were selling them $800-900 over, and they were lined up around the showroom floor just waiting to buy a Honda. And, now today, it's just not the case. Honda was one of the best cars made. Toyota was best cars made. Now, Hyundai and Kia are putting out some really great products,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of competition in the market that really you can't say we're the top brand, we're this, or we're this much better than everybody else, because cars are being made better today, more expensive repairs, because when they break down, you don't just put A and B together and a couple of tools. You have to have a computer to tell us what's wrong with it. So, there's just so many differences in the industry today than were there. But really, what's going to change is the culture and the atmosphere of the dealership, and how good they feel about buying a car from them. So if you're not good, and I've been on quite a few different groups of people that were, trying to decide, like, what's digital retailing doing, and how far down the path do you need to be able to take the customer? Well, you need to be able to let them buy start to finish from home and do it smoothly without any hiccups. You need to be able to start the process and stop at any point that they want to stop. And you at the dealership level be able to jump right in wherever they left off digitally, and be able to jump in halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, after just getting the price, whatever it is. You have to be prepared to jump in smoothly. And what happened for me at the dealership, at a very, very large dealership group that you think, nationwide public company, that you think they would have it done, is I had everything all done. I walked in and I had to start all over. Like, they had no way to
Wow.
pick up where I left off. And I think we have to get good at that. We have to train our salespeople to become really good at that.
Yeah, yeah, and couldn't agree more. So you mentioned culture again, and it might be the 15th or 20th time. So we're gonna
Sorry.
dive. No, I think it's fantastic because it really speaks to who you are and what's important to you. So, certainly a lot of companies talk about culture, and they talk about their culture being unique and different, whether it's recruiting new associates, certainly recruiting or prospecting for new customers or clients. presenting their company for sale or whatever. So it's just culture, culture, culture. And I will gladly say and proudly say that the halls feel different at NAE than most other companies, if not all other companies, because there is a distinct difference in the culture. So talk to us a little bit about the culture that you created, how hard you worked at it, because I don't think it came easy, although you made it look effortless. I don't think it was that easy. And then how that progressed over this last year and a half through the pandemic and virtual offices and remoting. But kind of, why is that so important to you, and how have you attained what you have obtained?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it starts from the top down. As much as we try to not do the hierarchy type thing and make everybody one part of one big team, but truly, if I didn't believe in it, and then my executive leadership team didn't believe in it, and then the managers underneath them didn't believe in it, like it has to start. You can't start it, at a supervisor level down because the rest of the organization isn't supporting it. So really, I mean, having that vision that that's what you want to do. And I've been very blessed. Like, I am surrounded by an amazing group of managers that all have bought and I've been told, bought into the Kool-Aid. Like, you can look
Yep.
on some Glassdoor reviews that say, if you don't buy into their culture Kool-Aid, you don't fit in. And you're probably right. So
Hmm.
you don't last real long around here if you don't believe in the culture, because it's a lot to live up to. And we expect a lot of people, and we hold people accountable, and we ask you to develop yourself and get yourself into book clubs, and try to do things that make you different than you were the previous day, because I truly believe that if you're not growing, you're declining. And
Hmm.
there is no top of the hill. Like, we can't reach the top of the hill and go, we've made it, and then just coast, because somebody right behind you is climbing up that hill just as fast as you climbed up the first time. And so I think that we have to continually develop people. So for me, the difference is developing the people. And if I can continue to develop you and make you a bigger, better person, maybe you go on and leave the company and do something great on your own. Like, I won't take credit for you because you came with a great culture. But truly, when you can develop that and get people to want to grow, they want to become leaders, and they want to do things, and they really buy into it because they know you care. And again, we've had people that have gone to school and done things, but have worked here and have been great employees for 4 or 5 years and go on to do other things or open their own companies or do whatever. And that's great. I mean, I encourage that. I just want, our goal, David and I, a couple of years ago, set out in front of our associates to create happy, healthy humans. And, if we can do that, I think that ultimately the culture around, and when they know that you're caring about them and that you believe in them, and not only them, but their families and so forth, that it creates a really good atmosphere. I mean, nothing is perfect. And, I can't say that every single team runs absolutely smoothly and that there isn't ever any drama or things, but very quickly if you have somebody in the organization that is causing some drama, because they don't fit in, and people will hold them accountable. And so for me, it starts with our culture training program. We run a culture training program when they start, and we learn our mission statement, and we know CQSE, and they chant it just like they do OHIO, because we're in Ohio. We chant CQSE. And so when you have that type of we have associate meetings and bring people together, and we try to get people to work above and beyond, and we call it give them the pickle, go the extra mile, but not just for the customer, but each other. We're each other's customers internally. And so really it helps to I've just been blessed, like I said, to have a lot of managers around me that bought into my Kool-Aid, and have really made it. It goes without me having to do a whole lot, because everybody believes in it so much.
Hello, everyone. This is Michael from ADS. Myself and the entire team would like to thank you for listening this week, and to Kelly for taking the time out of her busy schedule. I think you can all agree when I say this is what amazing stories and insights she presents about her professional journey, warranty forever, and the formation of the culture at NAE. Don't worry, next episode we'll hear more from Kelly as we dive into how she navigated through the pandemic, the sale of her company, and her Fast Five section. Tune in next episode to learn what exactly that is. App is available through Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and our website. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be notified of the latest episodes.